Raymond Rokicki, thank you for joining the Bayonne Public Advocate for this interview, and welcome.
I thank you for having me and asking all the candidates to come. It's something I think Bayonne needs, a totally independent observer asking questions with no biases on anybody's side.
Thank you. So you're hoping to be the next mayor at a time when the city may be facing some tough fiscal decisions. Are you prepared to be the bad guy and make the tough cuts that are necessary to save the city?
Well, I don't know if you want to call it the bad guy, but there are tough cuts.
Someone's going to see as the bad guy, right?
Well, the thing about it is that, they talk about patronage.
Right.
All the department heads who are appointed by the mayor supposedly have to hand in their resignations.
Okay.
And these jobs will have to be refilled. What I have advocated is that we accept applications and resumes from qualified people, read them, and appoint the best people to these positions at a salary that is going to be reduced from what they're being paid now.
So really overhaul of all those key positions.
Yes.
Yeah.
There will be a lot of patronage jobs that will not be refilled, but
Okay.
a lot of them do have to be refilled, whether we want to or think they shouldn't. They are required positions.
So you're the first person who's advocated for something so dramatic as that. How would you accomplish that? Would you have a committee of folks that would kind of go through that process to
Well, the jobs will be posted, whether in the print media or the internet or whatever means are available. And the accepted resumes and applications of people that think they're qualified.
Right, but I'm saying, aside from yourself, do you think you would have some other folks that you might bring in?
I mean, it's obvious we would, have to have our human resources center there. I mean, I talked about having people from the windmill doing a few things.
What's the windmill?
It's the Windmill Alliance. They run a not-for-profit organization down at the Trinity Church that helps the special needs citizens of this town.
So they'd be a good unbiased group, you think? That
Yes,
would be able to help
we have to start looking at like this, an unbiased group that we want to assist in getting our city moving.
So do you know, or have you had a chance to review the current city budget, and including or without the Board of Education? Do you know what the numbers are on those?
Well, what I found surprising is how little the city really has to raise by taxes. I think it's maybe less than 60 million, and the rest of the 120 million plus budget is money coming in from the state, from the federal government, various organizations. That seems mind-boggling that we only need between 50 and 60 million, and we're always 20 to 30 million short.
Yes. So in the past, we've heard about this concept of tax stabilization, but taxes never actually are reduced. Can a city budget like ours ever be reduced, do you think? And if so, how?
It will be reduced somewhere in the future. I mean, we have a piece of property that is never going to be on the books anywhere again. I don't think anybody working in the city or the BLRA knows the true value of it.
Right.
But the old military ocean terminal is Bayonne's future. If it's done right, we should not have a problem. So far, it has not been done right. I think they have maybe 3 or 4 contracts, and all of them seem to be in dispute. The one with Ports America, we got the Port Authority suing us.
Part of that legal case.
Roseland, they want to change from sales to rental. The other group, Trammell Crow, is getting ready to sue us if we let that happen. It's truly unbelievable. I don't know who's making the contracts down there, but they don't seem to be reading them very well.
I would guess it's the BLRA is making those contracts. Moving on to public education in Bayonne, it's the largest outlay of property tax dollars at approximately 50% of our property taxes. The average cost of the taxpayer is over $3,700 a year, and there are at least 2 elementary schools that are failing to achieve 1 or more annual yearly performance indicators, and the high school SAT scores are well below the state average. What steps would you take towards improvements in academics while helping to stay the cost to the taxpayer?
I think first we have to make the teachers realize that they're the most important part when it comes to the education of our children, and I think that we've lost that sight. just an example, and I found these numbers kind of unbelievable. I think the maximum a teacher could get after all their steps is like 83,000.
Right.
Well, if you have a class of 25, I think the number that they're using per student is approaching $10,000. That's $250,000 for each student. 80, say we use 80,000 as a average, and I'm sure that's a very high average. I don't think too many teachers are making that. What happened to the other $170,000?
It
goes to something that's truly unbelievable.
Administration and
I know,
costs,
but well, the infrastructure costs, I don't know. It seems we're paying for all the building, the city.
Right.
So the school system isn't paying for these new buildings.
So do you think maybe there's an issue in terms of administration?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're working on the premises of like 18 vice principals in this city now. 6 of them, I think, alone are in high school.
Right.
Now, I went to high school. I mean, I didn't know it was a larger classes than they are today. But all we had is Mr. O'Connor and Mr. Merriman, and they ran that school, and they ran it well.
Yeah. So another large issue impacting our budget is debt. Are you aware of the total amount of bonded debt that the city carries, both with and without the agencies?
I believe it's another mind-boggling.
It's a mind-boggling number, yes.
For such a small city, we seem to have some awfully big mind-boggling numbers. I believe it's just under $500 million now, in that $450 million range.
Which is the number I've heard as well, yes. Yeah. Then that's total for everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like credit card. We're paying off this the interest on a credit card debt, and we never at $450 million. How do we catch up?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if we're $30 million short on our budget now, how can we ever get caught up?
Which is actually my follow-up question, because you spoke of ways to lower the city budget, but one of the complications of that is that we have an $18 million line item on our city budget that's just paying down bonded debt. Well, interest on bonded debt, not even, I don't know how much principal that is. So I think that makes it difficult to then go ahead and try and lower that budget when we're always carrying a line item that is managing that debt. Do you have any ways that we could begin to try and eliminate that?
Well, obviously, it's to our future. Unfortunately, I think it's too far in our future of what ratables everybody says they're going to get from the peninsula at Bayonne.
Right.
But there are a lot of things that are available now that no one seems to be talking about.
Right.
There's a $200 to $300 million power plant that Hess wants to build down Con Hook. This is unbelievable ratables to the city. Even the water and sewer bill, they're talking about $1 million. They say we only use $7 million, but we have to pay for $10 million. So this would greatly reduce what the municipal utilities authority is trying to impose on their citizens.
So this next question comes from a member of the Bayonne.net web board community, which is actually our oldest web board community in Bayonne. Bayonne.net used to actually be a BBS, a dial-up bulletin board system. Joe Cimento runs it. A member, Bernie Gollum, writes, let's assume it's a given that no mayor by himself can reduce the highest property taxes in this country. So the only course may be to bring in more ratables that do not require more spending, so the average taxes may go down. What plans do you have to help spur more building in Bayonne?
I think we have to look to the future and what is the areas that really have dynamic growth that we could bring in here. One of them, I believe, should be solar panels. I mean, this is a manufacturing business that can employ a lot of people, and it's definitely the future of this country and this world, and we should be a leader in building this.
So target specific industries,
Right.
you think?
Yes, that and target General Electric. They're one of the biggest builders of windmills. We're talking now in South Jersey, the governor of building putting 95 windmills just offshore.
So you would skew towards some of the industrial development then, in some of the areas where we're available to develop.
Well, the green industrial
right.
areas, because I mean it has the biggest potential for growth. We are ideally located between the ports that we have, they could be built here, they could be easily shipped by truck, by water, by train.